examination, and whatever the questions we are discussing, that actually based on the previous year memory based question. So if you're finding anything is important, just note down that. If you're new on the Officers Adda 247, hit the subscribe button so that you can get regular update from our side, and download the Adda 247 application so that you can get everything at a one place. Before to start this session, I would like to say, our selection batch is going to start, and this is the last opportunity where you are going to get everything from the zero. Okay, where you're going to learn everything from the zero, and the name of the batch, that is a selection batch. That means we are not focusing only on for your like preparation of the 50 marks. We are just focused on like you will get in this examination that like 70 plus 80 plus 90 plus marks in this examination. Okay, because whatever the sessions, whatever the content that we are just going to deliver, that all based on the that all based on the fully exam oriented. Okay, so in this batch, you are going to get the mock test, e-books, live classes, recorded classes, all things you will get. Okay. And you have to use the code that is Y422, and with this code, you are going to get the big discount on this batch. So I think you should just enroll, because this is a last opportunity where you are going to get the fresh batch for your upcoming examination of the JIIB. So let's start our today's session with the very first question. In this question, we have to understand the debit balance of an account may represent either an asset or an expense. Which of the following is not correct in the connection with the debit balance? Okay, so you have to understand a very important thing, like this thing where we understood, like when we talk about the trial balance. Okay, so in the trial balance, we just understood that asset and expense we actually keep on the debit side. So whenever we're talking about the assets and expenses, that actually keep on the debit side, and whatever the liabilities and your income and your gains, that all just going to be recorded under the credit side, right? So that thing we actually understood. Now the thing is, the question is written here because you know that like asset and expenses that we are just going to record under the debit side in the trial balance. Okay, so if you understand the concept, now once again I just want to say here, because the concept stays there but the question changes. Okay, so you have to understand if the debit balance of an account may represent either an asset or an expense. So now you can understand why it is written like this. Okay, so which of the following is not correct in connection with the debit balance? You have to tell. Okay. So now read the options here. Like the cash account asset, and that is a perfectly correct. Like the cash account is just considered as an asset. Rent account, rent. The very important thing I would like to say: rent, your wages, salaries. Okay, that is a that is a very important examples of your expenses. Okay, that all considered as an expense for the company. Prepaid expenses always considered your asset, because that expenses that may be due in the next financial year, you already paid that. That means this would just behave like the asset for your company. Okay, next is a pre-operative expenses, and that is a very important thing to understand. When we talk about the pre-operative, the important thing you have to understand, pre-operative expenses are those expenses when the company is not starting the earning. Okay, that means pre-operative expenses is actually the expenses that actually after the incorporation of the business, but before the commencement of the business operations. That means this is the expenses we considered for the company, that when companies not started when companies not started the earning. Okay, so that expenses is known as a pre-operative expenses. So that's why it is not just we are not just going to record this under this expense. Okay, like under the trial balance we are not going to record this. So that's why the first question answer, that would be the last part, and this is somehow tricky question. Okay, so I hope it is understandable for everyone here that why the pre-operative expenses is the answer of this question. Why we are not considering the expense in this situation. Okay, right? So pre-operative expenses are those expenses when company is not started its earning. Okay, so that expenses is known as a pre-operative expenses. Now the next question. A business firm can adopt an accounting procedure which it has to follow later on, also due to which of the following accounting concept? The very important thing I would like to say, The two things you always have to understand while you are just doing the questions of the accounting. The very first thing that I would like to say here, that concept stays there, but the question changes. Okay. The second thing, that if any term you are unaware in the accounting, you are unaware of the any term in the accounting, that you have to understand, like in the accounting, every term itself represents its identity, itself represents its meanings. Okay. It itself represents its definition. So now if I just talk about a business firm can adopt an accounting procedure which it has to follow later on also due to which of the following accounting concept. So in this context, the correct answer that would be your convention of the consistency. Okay, like you can understand, like consistency, what it means. Consistency, that means that something that is going to be consistent, that is something that is going to be constant. Okay, for like you can understand for every year. So like if the company follow like one accounting procedure, okay, the same procedure company has to follow later years also. So that is known as a convention of the consistency. I hope it is understandable for everyone, right? So the correct answer of this question, that is a convention, or sometimes it is also known as a principle of the consistency. Okay. So this would be your answer for this question. That is a convention of the consistency. Okay. That would be the correct answer. Next question. Which of the following does not match in context of the computer based accounting? If I talk about this question, what would be the answer? First read every options here, because if we talk about a very important thing here, because you are going to examination where the mentality, what you are thinking about, like how you will just attempt this examination. Okay, that is important. Like if I talk about the like very easiest chapter of your accounting, that is module D. Okay, and module C, the last chapter, that is computerized, the computerized accounting. Okay, so these all chapters are considered as a very easy. You only have to understand the options here, right? Now, accounting performed by the computer. You have to just tell here that which of the following does not match in the context of the computer-based accounting. So, in this, what would be the answer of this question? Anybody can tell me what would be the answer of this? Just read the options carefully. Look, in the first option that is given, accounting performed by the computer, that is known as a computerized accounting. That is correct. Okay, that would be the correct. Second, the instruction written by the program for running the computer, that is known as a programming. That is also correct. To guard against loss of the data, regular copies made called duplicate record. This is wrong. This is wrong. Okay. To the instruction written in the form of the computer program that destroy the information in the computer, that is known as a virus. This is also correct. Okay. Because you have to understand here, the two options are very important to understand. Whenever we're talking about the any instruction that is written in the written by the programmer for running the computer, that is known as a your programming. And whatever the instruction that is written in the form of the computer program that destroy the information in the computer is known as the virus. The correct answer of this, that would be the C. That is actually the the wrong statement that is written. Okay, right? So to guard against loss of data, regular copy is made called duplicate record. That would be the correct answer for this question. Okay. Now the next question. When the balance as per the cash book is a starting point in the reconciliation, the amount of the check issued and not presented are. Okay, and you have to just tell what would be the answer of this question. Look, this type of the question may come in the examination, so you have to be so careful while solving this question. Okay, when the balance as per the cash book is the starting point, that means whenever this question is given, that means you have to understand, you will write here passbook and you will write here cash book and here the passbook, because whenever the cash book balance is given, you can understand, you have to find out the situation for the bank balance, or you can also understand you have to find the condition for the passbook balance, right? So in this context, the same thing you have to apply. So when the balance as per the cash book is the starting point, so when the balance as per the cash book is the starting point, the thing you have to understand that you have to just write the passbook here. After that, cash book and passbook, like in what way I just define you everything, the same thing you have to follow. Like I always tell you that whenever the cash book balance is given, you always have to just find out the passbook balance, and whenever the passbook balance is given, you have to find out the cash book balance. Okay, so in that scenario, you have to understand when the balance as per the cash book is given, right? So here just write the passbook, and here the write the cash book and the passbook. Now, again, what you have to do in this scenario, now in the reconciliation, the amount of the checks issued and not presented. That means we talk about the company actually issued the check to any of its creditor, but actually that creditor not presented that check over the counter of the bank. Okay, so you can understand actually the customer, or you can also understand as a company is actually issued the check. Suppose that company issued the check for the X amount. Okay, and because it is not presented over the counter of the bank, that means this transaction is going to be reflected as a zero. Okay, and if it is zero, then any number like which is minus here, okay, and this is zero, that means passbook balance is greater than the cash book balance. And in that scenario, you have to, if the passbook balance is greater than, because here we have written the passbook, that means you have to write the situation with respect to the passbook. So here you will say that passbook balances are greater than the cash book. That's why it would be added here. The correct answer, that would be the second. All right. So this is how we have to solve the questions. Right. I think it is clear for everyone. Whenever it is given the cash book is the starting point, so you have to write here in this way. You have to write the passbook here, and after that cash book and the passbook. Okay. So this is how you have to solve the questions in the examination also. Next question. A computer and its related equipment is purchased for the 50,000 with 3 years expected useful life and 2,000 as a salvage value. On this, depreciation is charged on the sum of years digit method, amount of the depreciation in the first year that you have to calculate. Like, suppose that in the examination you forget that the sum of year digit method. Now you will just recall what the second point I just called. I just explained you that whenever you just unaware of any kind of the term in the accounting, you have to understand in the accounting every term itself represent its definition, its meaning. Just try to understand that. The question is about the sum of year digit method. Sum of year digit method. Okay. So in this situation, the very first thing that you have to know about the useful life. Okay. So whenever we're talking about the useful life, that you have to understand in this scenario, the useful life is given the 3 years. And if this is given the 3 years, what you have to do in this useful life, if the 3 years is given, okay, so now you have to just write 3 plus 2 plus 1, and that would be equal to the 6. So for the first year depreciation, if you have to calculate, that would become the 3 by 6, or you can also say that that is 1 by 2. Okay, so this is considered as a first year depreciation. Okay, this is considered as a first year depreciation, this is considered as a second year, this is considered as a third year depreciation. Okay, so whenever we have to solve, we have to just write the 3 by 6, and that will be multiplied by the total cost of the value that is given, the 50,000, and the salvage value is given. So you have to write in this way, that is 50,000 minus salvage value is given the 2,000, just write in this way and just try to solve this. This would become the 48,000 and 3 by 6. Okay, so this will become the 24,000. That would be the answer for this question, right? I hope it is understandable for everyone. So how to solve this kind of the questions in the examination, you have to understand. Like sum of year digit method, how to solve this whenever the useful life is given the 3 years, because here the useful life is given the 3 years. Okay, so you have to understand if the useful life is given is a 3 years, so 3 plus 2 plus 1, and that would be the 6. So first year depreciation, that would be the 3 by 6, second year 2 by 6, and the third year that would be the 1 by 6. Suppose that if I talk about the useful life is given the 5 years. Okay, So in that scenario, the very first thing that you have to write the information, like the useful life is given the 5 years, so you have to write the 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, and that would be equal to your 15. Okay, so first year depreciation, that would be the 5 by 15, second year 4 by 15, third year 3 by 15, fourth year 2 by 15, and for the fifth year that would be the 1 by 15, and this would be considered as the depreciation for the respectively years. Okay, so the correct answer of this, that would be the second. Now the next question. When we talk about the chapter of the balance sheet equation, you have to understand, like the in the examination you will get the questions like this way. Like, you know, when we talk about the balance sheet equation, that is a very important thing to understand. You know, whenever we talk about the balance sheet equation, it is also known as an accounting equation. So you can understand the accounting equation is all about your when we talk about, this is all about the assets is equal to liabilities plus capital, right? Assets is equal to capital plus liabilities. Now, when we talk about the like assets, when we talk about like the promoter brings capital of the 10,000 rupees. So, you know, due to business entity concept, what we understand, the owner and the business entity both are the different. Whenever we talking about the like due to business entity, owner and the business both are the different entity. Okay, that means if the owner started his business with the some capital, that means for that capital, you can understand that actually considered as a cash for this owner, but for the business that is considered as a capital, because this is somehow shows the liability of the company or business that the company has to pay to the owner. Okay, when the owner just want that. So you can understand whenever we are talking about, like if we talk about the promoter brings capital of the 10,000, you can understand, suppose that this is a promoter, and suppose that this promoter is bring the capital for his company with the 10,000 rupees. So that actually would be considered as a cash for the own promoter and capital for the company. So now what you have to do in that scenario, you have to just write in this way that assets here, okay, and here you will write the liabilities, and here you will write the capital. Now just understand, like in a very fine way, what I'm just going to say you here, that the promoter brings capital of the 10,000. So what I told you, that for the promoter that actually the cash, but the company it is actually the capital, right? Okay, now, what you have to write, because this is a cash, like promoter just bring the 10,000, and the just for the company is it the liability or the capital, like the 10,000 rupees. Now you will say out of which he purchases furniture worth 2,000 rupees. What it means, that it means that from this 10,000, the owner actually purchases the furniture of the 2,000 rupees. So that means the cash, that means from the cash, we are just going to understand the 2,000 rupees actually used by the promoter or the company for purchasing the another asset. Okay, so that asset you can know as a machinery. Okay, so 8,000, that would be the cash of yours company, and this would be considered sorry, machinery, not a furniture. Okay, so we are talking about the furniture here, so 2,000 rupees, that would be just included as a furniture. Okay, now that would be equal to the 10,000 rupees, and this is actually the capital for the company, right? I think it is not visible for everyone. Just listen me carefully here. Look, when we talk about here that this is a cash, and this is your capital, and this is your liability. Now you will start it with here, that is cash and capital, because the first condition it is written here that the promoter brings capital of the 10,000. In that scenario, it would be just behave like the 10,000 rupees cash and 10,000 rupees the capital, right? Now, out of which the actually the promoter or say the company actually purchases the furniture. That means the one asset is going out and the one asset is just coming in. That means furniture is actually coming in while your cash is going out for that. Okay, because the question is out of which he purchases furniture. Okay, so that means the cash would be the 8,000 plus 2,000 rupees, that would be considered as a furniture, okay, asset, right? and this would be equal to the 10,000 capital, and that would be your equation. Now just find where it is written here. Okay, so the correct option in this scenario, that would be the C, right? So this is how we have to solve the questions. Next, a withdrawal of the cash from the business by the proprietor should be credited to, right? Now the very important thing I just want to tell you here, whenever we're talking about a withdrawal of the cash from the business by the proprietor should be credited to, so the very important thing you have to understand in this scenario, the first account that would be included the drawing account. Okay, whenever we are talking about the proprietor, that you can consider as the owner of the firm. Okay, so whenever the proprietor is actually withdrawing something, so in that scenario you can understand there would be involvement of the two accounts. The first is drawing account, another one that is a cash account. Okay, so drawing account, another one that is a cash account. So drawing account, that would be the debited, and the another account, that should be the credited. Okay, so in what respect we are saying that? Because in that scenario cash is going out from the business, and whenever we are just going to understand is anything going out from the business or any asset is going out from the business, so for the real account category, like the debit and credit concept of the real account says that debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So that's why in that scenario cash account is going to be credited. Okay, while drawing account would be debited. Now again you have to understand a very important thing. Whenever we are talking about like a withdrawal of some type of the goods, suppose it is withdrawing by the business of the proprietor. If suppose that we are talking about like proprietor actually withdraws or actually just taken some goods of the amount, of considered as a 15,000 rupees from its company. So in that scenario, which account should be debited and which account should be credited? So drawing account would be debited in that scenario, while purchase account should be credited in that scenario. Okay, so like in this situation we are talking about the cash. So in that scenario, the drawing account and the cash, that would be the correct. But if the question is like proprietor is actually withdrawing, or proprietor is just actually, you can understand, just actually taking the some goods of the amount for his personal use, then the another account, that would be known as a purchase account, because the purchasing actually just going to be reduced of the company. Okay, so that's why if for this question the correct answer, that would be your cash account, right? Okay, I hope it is understandable for everyone. Purchase we are just going to include when we talking about the owner or proprietor is actually withdrawing the goods. Okay, so in that scenario we are talking about the purchase only. Next question. Mr. X trial balance was showing difference of the 5,000 rupees. Okay. While checking of the total sales register, he found that total is overcast by the 2,000. After correction in the sales register, what would be the difference in the trial balance? Look, the question is, whenever we're talking about the trial balance, again I would like to say you have to stick with your concept. Like when we talk about the on the debit side, we actually keep the asset and the expenses, right? Okay, and on the credit side we actually keep the liabilities, your income, your gains, that we considered here. Now the very important thing you have to understand, the Mr. X trial balance is actually showing the difference of the 5,000. That means debit and credit side is actually showing the difference of the 5,000 rupees. While checking of the total sales register, sales come where? You have to understand, now it is tricky one. Now we are talking about the sales, and sales actually generate the revenue for the company. Generate the revenue, or you can also say generate the income for the company, right? Okay, so in that scenario this sale would be recorded where? Under the credit side. Okay, so now you can understand, by mistake the it is actually the overcast by the 2,000 rupees. That means this reference we are getting when this credit side is actually the overcast by the 2,000 rupees, right? So if this is overcast by the 2,000 rupees, and suppose that now we have to nullify this error, so we are just going to what we are going to do just understand this, we are going to neglect this. Okay, how we can neglect this? When we are just going to debit like 2,000 rupees here, That means now this difference would be what? This difference would become the 7,000. So the correct answer of this, that debit side exceed by the 7,000, that would be your correct answer for this question, right? I hope it is understandable. Look, first understand here again, I just want to tell you here. Look, what we are talking about, we are talking about that for the trial balance, debit side should be equal to the credit side. This is correct. Okay. Now, but what the conditions here given? Here the condition is given that Mr. X trial balance was showing difference of the 5,000 rupees. So that means if everything is perfect, okay, if everything is perfect, then the difference is actually would be the 5,000. But by mistake, the total sales register we where we are going to record under the credit side, that means in short, the question is what, that is by mistake is credit side overcast by the 2,000 rupees. That means this error we are getting, like when the credit side is already overcast by the 2,000 rupees, that means the actual difference that would actually your 7,000 rupees. That means the correct answer, that would be the A for this question, right? I hope it is understandable for everyone. Next question. Which of the following does not affect the agreement of the trial balance? And this is a very, very important question for the exam point of view. Does not affect the agreement of the trial balance, because from this question actually examiner ask every, like examiner actually cover the each and every type of the errors in this situation. Now you can understand which type of the error just does not affect the agreement of the trial balance. You have to understand, suppose that error of the principal we are talking about. So in the error of the principal, what mistake we actually done? We actually just going to debit, like if we just going to record the expenses instead of the revenue, and when we just going to record the revenue instead of the expenses, that means whenever we are just making the we're making the the mistake for recording the transaction in the wrong account, okay, in the wrong account but the correct side, in the wrong account but the correct side, so then it is known as a error of the principal. But in this wrong account would be just related to your company's account, company's head account. Like company's head account, you can understand purchase account, sales account, salary account, wages account, okay, your income account, right? So that all considered as a company's head account. So whenever we're talking about the error, this error that is just occurred like in the wrong account, okay, but the correct side. So you can understand that actually does not impact on the balances of the debit and credit. Like for the trial balance, the very important thing you have to understand, we are actually talking about the balances. That means debit balance and credit balance. Okay, so we are talking about the balances, and in that scenario, suppose that we have to debit the your income account, okay, and suppose that we just going to debit another account. So in that scenario, we are talking about like a very important thing we are talking about. Like in that scenario, this would not affect the agreement of the trial balance. Second, complete omission in the subsidiary book. Suppose that we just omit, like like you can understand, for every transaction there would be one debit entry and there would be another credit entry. And suppose that you forget to record both of the entry, then it will also does not affect the agreement of the trial balance. So this is also just correct answer for this question. Now, compensating error. When we talk about one error is actually compensating the another error. That means this is also nullify the like this kind of the error. So this also you can understand, this also will not impact on the agreement of the trial balance. The very important thing you have to understand, whenever we're talking about the agreement of the trial balance, it is all about that to balance, like the debit balance should be equal to the credit balance, okay, right? So in that scenario, you have to understand all the three, like the error of the principal, complete omission in the subsidiary book, compensating error, that all is correct. That means the correct answer, that is all the three does not affect the agreement of the trial balance. And I'm just requesting you to all just write down these errors, like these errors does not affect the agreement of the trial balance, because this is definitely you may get the question in the examination, right? Okay, this is a very important to understand. Now the next question. 25,000 is spent by the firm for repair of its building has been debited to the building account. Okay, pass a journal entry for the rectification of this, right? So the very first thing, whenever you are just going to get this kind of the question in the examination, how you can solve this kind of the question, the very first thing that you have to understand, which type of the accounts probably included in this transaction. So what we are talking about, we are talking about 25,000 rupees spent by the firm for repairs of its building. That means the very first account that you understood, that would be the repair and maintenance account, and second one, that would be your cash account. Now just tell me, whenever we are talking about the cash, okay, and in that scenario 25,000 is spent by the firm, that you can understand actually 25,000 rupees is going out from the business, and that is the asset. An asset belongs to real account category. For the real account category, debit and credit concept says debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So in that scenario, your cash account definitely would going to be credited. Okay, and if the one account you actually just recognize that it is credit or debit, then another one that is automatically opposite of that, right? So now when we talk about that, how to just make the entry of that, then you will just write the repair account should be debited, while your cash account would just going to be credited in this situation. That is the correct. Okay, now how to rectify this error, but what exactly happened, now you will just make like this, that this should be debit and this should be credit, and this should be debit and this should be credit, right? Now just understand, here we are writing the what should be the correct entry, and here we are writing what is exactly happened. Okay, so you can understand here the repair account should be debited while your cash account is going to be credited, right? But what exactly happened? By mistake, we actually just debit the building account, okay, and cash account is credited. Okay, so you can understand here, by mistake we have to debit the repair, but we actually debited the building account. Okay, and this kind of the error you can understand as an error of the principle. Okay, because we are talking about the company's head account. Okay, and we actually mistake, we actually violating the fundamental principle of the accounting here. Now you can understand, in that scenario, if I have to nullify this error, the very first thing what I will do, that I will credit the building account. Okay, how I rectify this, that how the if I just credit the building account here, okay, and on the debit side I actually want the repair account, because the cash is the same place, cash is at the same place. Okay, so how we can just what would be the answer of this question, that debit repairs and credit building, that would be the correct answer of this question. Okay, in that question you have to understand that debit repair, how, look, the very first thing, that what mistake you had done, you had done mistake in this, like you actually debited the building account and credited the cash account. So the very first thing, that you just going to credit the building account, and after that what you just want, you want the repair on the debit side. So the correct answer, that will be the debit repairs and the credit building. Alright, so this is how we have to solve the questions. I hope you all understood all the questions in a very proper way, and I hope, I'm just wishing all you a very best of luck for your examination, for your preparation also. Okay, so the all courses, all video courses that actually available in the bilingual as well as the English language format, you only have to use the code Y422, and with this code you are going to get the 77% off on all the courses that we are offering. Okay, so another thing, that because we are talking about the test packs, and that actually gives a final touch to your preparation. So this is also necessary, this is also essential if you're preparing, working hard for your examination. So you can just enroll for the test packs also. You have to use the code Y422 or Y422S. Okay, you have to see that which code is just going to be applicable in that scenario. So you will get the 17% discount on the test packs, right? So I hope this lecture is useful for everyone. So like this video if you're just liking our effort, liking our content, and share this video to your friends, to your colleagues. Thank you everyone for watching this video, watching my this session. Now we'll meet other tomorrow at the same time.